In the world of politics, intellectuals often seem like the experts. They have the degrees, the books, and the theories to back them up. But what if I told you that some of the most brilliant minds in politics have completely misunderstood the real forces at play? In fact, a surprising study from Harvard found that 65% of political decisions are influenced more by emotion than reason. That's right, emotion drives politics, not logic or idealism. Intellectuals, for all their knowledge, can get stuck in abstract ideas and lose touch with reality. They often forget that politics isn't just about books or theories, it's about people with emotions, power struggles, and unpredictable behaviors. Think about how Brexit, despite all the economic research against it, was driven by deep emotional feelings of nationalism. Or how many experts didn't see Donald Trump's rise coming, ignoring the real-world frustrations of ordinary voters. In this video, we'll dive into why intellectuals, no matter how smart, often miss the mark when it comes to understanding politics. From elitism clouding judgment to their failure to see the true power of the masses, we'll break down why their theories can't always keep up with the chaos of real-world politics. Stick around, because we're about to challenge everything you thought you knew about political expertise. Chapter 1: The Ivory Tower Disconnect. When theory collides with reality, intellectuals are often seen as the brains behind societal progress. But their ideas, while elegant in theory, don't always match the messy reality of politics. Take the example of Karl Marx, whose theories were groundbreaking but failed to predict the practical difficulties of implementing socialism. Politics, unlike academic research, thrives on real-world emotions and complex power struggles. For instance, consider how global leaders negotiate deals. It's less about pure reason and more about strategic positioning, alliances, and sometimes, simple human emotion. Studies have shown that political decisions are often driven by short-term power plays rather than long-term ideological pursuits. Intellectuals, wrapped up in their theories, may overlook these human factors. The difference between knowing something in theory and applying it in practice is huge. It's one reason why so many political movements, even those with intellectual backing, fail in execution. Theories can't always survive the complexities of global politics, which involve unpredictable factors like public opinion or economic shifts. Moreover, real politics isn't driven by the pursuit of truth, but by the struggle for control. This means that political leaders often have to bend, break, or compromise on principles to hold on to power. Theories that ignore this dynamic miss a crucial aspect of politics. The idealism of intellectuals can clash with the pragmatism needed to navigate these realities. Chapter 2: The Bias of the Mind. How elitism colors political understanding. Intellectuals, by nature, are often more disconnected from the struggles of everyday people. This detachment can cloud their understanding of politics. Intellectuals are taught to value reason and logic, but they often fall prey to bias, not just in their analysis but in their very perspectives. They tend to focus on what should work in theory, rather than what does work in practice. For example, many intellectuals believe the Brexit vote in 2016 was an irrational decision. However, in doing so, they underestimated the emotional and historical factors driving the British electorate. A 2018 study from the London School of Economics found that higher education levels often correlate with a lack of empathy toward the struggles of working-class voters. Intellectuals may theorize about economics, but often overlook the emotional side of politics, which can be just as powerful. Elites tend to view the world through a lens of their own privilege, making it difficult to see the political needs and desires of less privileged groups. Elitism is not just an attitude, it's an intellectual blind spot. It skews their ability to comprehend why certain policies resonate with the masses, even if those policies seem economically or logically flawed. Intellectuals often see political issues from an abstract, theoretical angle, but fail to grasp the real-world consequences of those ideas on everyday people's lives. As a result, they miss the broader political picture. Chapter 3: From Books to Ballots. Why intellectuals struggle with political pragmatism. Politics isn't just about ideals, it's about compromise and negotiation. This is where intellectuals often stumble. A prime example is the gridlock in US politics. Intellectuals may champion ideologies like universal healthcare, but they fail to consider the entrenched interests that prevent such ideas from becoming law. Political decision-making is a battle of interest groups, not just the intellectual pursuit of truth. A perfect illustration of this is the passage of the Affordable Care Act in 2010. Although many intellectuals supported the idea of universal healthcare, the reality of getting it through Congress required compromises, backroom deals and compromises with lobbyists. Intellectuals often overlook these power dynamics, thinking that pure ideas will triumph on their own. But real-world politics requires bending to the existing power structures. History teaches us that without political pragmatism, even the most brilliant ideas can fail. Intellectuals often miss this point because they operate in a realm of theoretical purity. They overlook the fact that passing legislation often means trading one good idea for another, sometimes with unexpected results. If you're finding this interesting, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to stay up to date with more insights like this. Chapter 4: The Dangers of Intellectual Purism, Rigid Theories versus Fluid Politics. Intellectuals often chase after ideological purity. They envision a perfect system, whether it's a perfect democracy or an idealized economy. But politics doesn't work that way. A good example is the rise of third parties in the US. Intellectuals often believe that a third party could bring real change. Yet, despite many third-party platforms sounding like reasonable alternatives, they fail because politics is about winning, not about being right. Intellectuals who advocate for purism often ignore the reality that most political systems are designed to preserve the status quo. In a two-party system like the US, for example, the odds of a third party succeeding are slim because the system doesn't allow it. History shows that even when third-party candidates win votes, they usually don't win power. Purism in intellectual thought often results in policies that sound good but have little chance of passing. For instance, many economists have proposed ideal tax systems or perfect economic plans, but these rarely survive the political process because they are too disconnected from the needs and interests of the broader electorate. Chapter 5: The Echo Chamber Effect, How Intellectuals Reinforce Their Own Views. Intellectuals often find themselves in echo chambers, surrounded by like-minded individuals who think in similar ways. This limits their understanding of opposing political views. It's easy to become convinced that your ideology is the correct one when all you hear is reinforcement. Research from Stanford University suggests that people in ideological echo chambers are more likely to see the world in black and white terms, which stunts their political flexibility. Social media is a prime example of this effect. Many intellectuals, whether they realize it or not, find themselves in online groups that only validate their beliefs. As a result, they're less likely to engage with opposing viewpoints. This lack of diversity in thought can cloud their judgment and lead to flawed political analysis. The echo chamber also breeds polarization, making it harder for intellectuals to see compromise as a viable option. In a political system where cooperation is necessary to pass laws, this creates a dangerous disconnect between what intellectuals believe should happen and the complex process of achieving political change. Chapter 6: The Underestimation of the Masses, Why Intellectuals Forget People Power. One of the most significant mistakes intellectuals make is underestimating the power of grassroots movements. Intellectuals often focus on the ideas of elites and political figures, missing the fact that change often comes from below. The rise of populism in politics is a prime example of this. Intellectuals dismissed populist leaders like Donald Trump or Jair Bolsonaro as flukes or political theater, yet both harnessed the power of popular sentiment to achieve political success. Studies show that populist movements often thrive by channeling frustration among ordinary people, particularly those who feel ignored by the political elite. In fact, a 2020 Pew Research Center survey found that populism in Europe and North America was driven largely by working-class voters who felt left behind by globalization. This disconnect between intellectuals and the masses is a crucial factor in why many intellectuals misunderstand politics. They focus on top-down politics, but the most significant political movements often come from grassroots campaigns, which are powered by the everyday people who have the most to gain, or lose, by political decisions. Intellectuals often overlook these movements, thinking that their theories alone should guide the political agenda. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe for more. You don't want to miss out on our next deep dive into political dynamics.